Hi there, thanks for joining me for this video. Today I want to talk about doing the firmware update in your Boss RC600 Loopstation. So many people have had a tough time trying to figure it out and trying to get it right and trying to get the files in the places where they need to go. I'm going to show you step by step how to do it properly, how to do it quickly, and how to do it the first time. Well, we're going to start off going to the Boss website, download the files that we need. We're going to extract the files that we actually put in the Loopstation from the files that you download from the website. There is a difference. You're going to need your Boss Loopstation RC600, and you're going to need a USB-A to a USB-B cable, and it looks just like this. It's got a little square end with beveled corners on one end. The other end, of course, is the normal rectangular that goes into the computer. And you're going to plug it into the back of your Loopstation. Right here, between your MIDI connectors and your power switch. That's where you're going to plug it in. Anyway, get everything ready, take it over to the computer, and we will go to the next step. Well, before we do anything else, let's just find out what version of firmware is currently in the machine. With the power off, hold down the menu button and turn on the power. And you'll very quickly see what version of firmware is in the machine. Right now, I have version 1.12. And so we are going to go to the Boss website and find out what the current version is. And if it's higher than 1.12, we will download it and install it. To get out of this screen, all you can do is turn that power off. Here we are at a Windows 10 desktop. Let's open up a browser window and we'll go to Google. And let's type in RC600 Firmware Update. And enter. And right now, at the top of the list, is where we want to go, boss.info. Let's go there. We'll open up that website and we'll see what we can find. It takes us directly to the RC600 updates and drivers page. So scrolling down, I can see at the very top of this list is the system program, version 1.21. Definitely higher than what's currently in my machine. I believe it's 1.12. Also, you'll find here Boss Tone Studio for Windows or Mac. You'll find Rhythm Converter for Windows or Mac. You'll find drivers for Windows. You should install that if you haven't already. And drivers for Mac computers. Anyway, we don't need any of those. We just need, right now, the system firmware. So let's click on that. And scrolling down, how to tell what version, we've already done that. Hold down the menu button and turn on the power. Then there's an update history. It tells you all about the versions of the firmware that have come out in the last year and a half. Tells you what they've fixed, what they've addressed, what they've changed, altered, repaired, or corrected. Version 1.12, I believe, is what I had in my computer, and that fixed these problems. Version 1.1 and version 1.04. Now, it tells you now what you'll need to do the update, which is the RC600, the USB cable, and your computer. And some cautions. You can read all of this if you wish, or just continue scrolling all the way down to the bottom. Here are the procedures, which is really what I'm showing you right now. The Roland Software License Agreement, you could read this. It's fairly lengthy. Most people just ignore it, but you should be aware of it, and you have to consent, agree, and wish to proceed. Click that checkbox, download the file. After that, you'll see at the upper corner the download process, and here it is, RC600 system version 1.21.zip. Now, pay attention, that's a zip file. This is not the file that you're going to insert into your RC600. This is a zip file. And what happens is when you download any files from the internet, what they've always done, they take all of the files, all of the attachments and bits and pieces of whatever it is that you're trying to acquire. They round everything up and put them all into a folder. Then that folder gets compressed by a program called Unzip. Now what happens is Unzip used to reformat everything in that folder, crunch it all down, kind of squish it all down into a very small file, and reformat it so that you can download a small file instead of however many megabytes or even gigabytes you would otherwise end up downloading. So Unzip crunches it down into something far smaller, more efficient for download. It saves you data, saves you lots of time for downloading. And when you finish that download, you have a zip file that you have to unzip and get the files out of it that you were originally after. Anyway, this is finished, so let's close this window and open up a File Explorer window, and we'll see what happens. In the Downloads folder, for Windows anyway, in the Downloads folder, unless you've reassigned your downloads to some other destination, it should be right here in your Downloads folder. And there it is, listed by date, for me anyway, RC600 system version 1.21.zip. And that is the zip file that we just downloaded. So how do you unzip this file? Well, it used to be that you'd have to get Unzip installed, another application in your computer. You'd have to go through a process to unzip, unpack, and release the files that were inside of it. But nowadays, Windows does that by itself. So all you have to do now is double click on it. 2 clicks, and inside you will find a folder of the same name. Exactly the same name, but now it is an unzipped folder. And inside this folder are the files that we want. For clarity, let's just copy and paste this folder, copy it onto my desktop. Right click on it, pick copy, and then go over to your desktop and right click again and go paste. And right away it happens. It comes down, and now the folder uncompressed is here on my desktop. Let's double click on it, and there you go. There are the 5 files that we are after. These are the files that have to go into the RC600, not the folder and not that zip file. In fact, I could delete that zip file that I just downloaded, because now I have an unzipped folder with the files I want here on my desktop. Anyway, we're ready now to go over to the RC600 and initiate the update process. Let's close that window down and switch over to the RC600. So, at the back of your loop station, the power can be on already. It doesn't really matter if it's on or off right now. Just plug in the USB. It only goes in one way. The 2 beveled corners go up. Plug that in, and then we'll take the other end and plug it into the computer. I'm going to do that after I open a window so that you can see the results when you plug it in and connect it. Now, the way to initiate the firmware update process is to now go to the RC600. What we're going to do is hold down from an off state, hold down the exit button and turn on the power. You will see something like this, preparing and then connecting. So now the RC600 is waiting for us to go and plug in the other end of the USB cable. So let's do that now. Going back to the Windows desktop, I'd like you to see what happens when you plug it in. So here's a File Explorer window. You can see that there's only a C drive in this computer. Keep an eye in this area here, because you're going to see something happen. You're going to see an icon pop up, and you will hear Windows chime in. So there you go. I've just plugged in the USB cable, and now RC600 pops up right here. This is your unit. Effectively, if you double click on it, you can see whatever is inside. And we'll look at that later. It should just be a Roland folder. Anyway, before we do that, let's just transfer these files into the 600. Double clicking on that, open up that window so I can see these 5 files. Click on the top one, scroll down to the bottom, hold down Shift and click on that one as well. Now that highlights all 5 of these files. The easiest way to transfer these to the root directory is to highlight them all and then click on the mouse, the left button for me, drag these files over, drag and drop over to this icon that says RC600. Let them go here and you will see copying 5 items, and now already done. When you do them this way, copying them to the RC600 icon, they will automatically go to the root directory. And let's have a look inside now and see what that means. Double click that icon, and here we now see the Roland folder, which if we were doing a system backup, we would just copy this folder over to the desktop. You could see that in other videos that I have. Also listed here are those 5 files. You don't copy these files into the Roland folder. If you do, you're going to see something along the lines of no file found or a no data or something along that lines, an error message. And you don't want that to happen. You want to put them here in this root directory beside the Roland folder. So now they are in the RC600. Let's leave it at that. I'm going to right click on this icon and eject the RC600 from the computer. And when we do, it is now safe to remove the hardware. That means pull out the USB cable, and now Windows responded again. Let's now look at the RC600, and we can see that it is asking if we want to do the update. The way to say yes is to press Enter. And so there we go. It's now happening. I don't know of a way to safely stop this from happening. It's going to take a minute or two, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. You just have to let it go through its cycle. If you interrupt it now, you are going to cause serious problems, because I don't believe that there is a way to correct it if this part goes wrong. So make sure you get it right. And it's already at 56%. It won't take long now. Just let it continue, be patient, and we're watching in real time. So there's no way to speed up this process. We just have to wait. And when it's done, it should say System Updated Success, or something to that effect. 88%, 90%, we're just about there. I'm really looking forward to checking out this system with the new firmware. It should be considerably better operational than it was. 99, 100%. Complete. Please turn off the power. So let's comply. And now we will turn it on, just let it power cycle through, and we'll see if there are any differences, or if anything different has happened, any messages that might come up. It should go right back to the memory that I was on before all of this. I think it was memory number 23. And yes, there it is. it's ready to go. Everything seems to be okay. Power it off once more. That was just as a test run to see if it starts up properly, and it did. Now, I'm going to hold down the menu button again, and we will see that the new version of firmware is now 1.21. So we have achieved the firmware update. We are done. Let's turn that off. It's the only way to escape from that screen. And now we are ready to start looping again. Well, it turns out that that's actually fairly easy by the sounds of it. It turns out you just have to be aware that when you're downloading your firmware update, it's going to be a zip file, and you have to unzip that file, go into the folder inside the zip file, and inside the folder will be the files that you're looking for. And you just have to be aware that you have to get those 5 files and copy them into the RC600 to the root directory. The root directory being basically beside that Roland folder, not inside the Roland folder, like so many people end up doing accidentally. So if you get them into the right place and don't copy the zip file into the RC, don't copy the folder into the RC, get those files and put them into the RC root directory, and then initiate the firmware update process. So it turns out that it's actually fairly easy after that. And please leave some comments down below, questions. If you have anything else that you want to go over, maybe I can make another video showing more in-depth root directories, zip files, or the update process again. I'm sure there will be another firmware update sometime in the near future from Boss. And when that happens, I will be happy to make another video if anyone out there wants. So please hit like and subscribe. I would very much appreciate that. And hopefully I'll see you in another video. Bye now.